This is The Chris Heasley Show, coming to you from Radio DeBang, the North America's premier broadcasting network.
Hello, this is Chris Heasley with The Chris Heasley Radio Show. And on today's show, we will cover all things Houston, all things the state of Texas, and we will do it from a global perspective, from a national perspective, because it's a firestorm on the global scene, and it's certainly a lot happening across the nation. So we're going to cover those things and how they affect us here in Houston, Texas. And on today's show, we have two guests that are very well suited to give us an update on those areas. In the studio, we have Oscar Gonzales, Republican candidate for
Harris County Judge.
Very good. Glad to have you back.
Good to be back.
And we have Liz Ramos, who is officially our Republican nominee for state representative. What district is it?
House District 135.
Yes, House District 135. And congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So she is now the official Republican candidate for House District 135.
Correct.
Going to be an incredible race. Maybe we can take that area back. That's the Cypress area. And that area has been, it is a conservative area that's been held under the thumb of the Texas Democrats. So we're going to see if Liz can break that mold.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a big deal if she does.
Yeah,
Not an
absolutely.
easy task. The Texas Democrats, they don't go down without a fight.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely, especially the Hispanic ones.
Yep. But I think our Hispanic community in Houston, Texas, and Cypress, Texas, is fired up for all the right things, and they're fired up for their families and for the health and safety of our community. And we have a group that's sprung up that's really largely representing the Hispanic community in Houston, Texas, and it's called the Menudo Club. And it's really gaining a lot of steam. And I think both of you have attended their events.
Yes.
Can you just tell me a little bit about the Menudo Club?
Well, it's a group of people who are all conservative, and we come together. People come in from all walks, and they get to listen to, and they can ask questions of elected officials, candidates, and they can network with each other. It's a great time, and you have great food, great company, and you share a lot of common values with everybody there. So it's a really good time.
Yeah. I'm actually one of the hosts of one of the Menudo clubs in the satellite office that we have in Cypress. Piggybacking on what Oscar just said, we have an opportunity to bring all the candidates in Harris County to come out and just our constituents want to hear about candidates. I think the days of going to the ballot and really not knowing who these candidates are or what they stand for, that's long gone. We have a lot of organizations now, the Menudo Club being one of them, where we are actually bringing these candidates out once a month. You can come and speak to them one-on-one, ask questions, and see if they're aligning with your values.
Yeah, I agree with it. I've been to their events, and I think that they're family-centric. They are pro-American, pro-MAGA, I would even say. We're in an awakening process that's really an incredible time for all of us. One of the things I think that what we see the way I view it is that the Democrat Party, they are largely the establishment, but they are a wounded animal. They're still a machine. They still don't go down without a fight. But I don't see them having momentum today. I see the momentum on the right. And with that, I see a shifting of establishment resources from the left to the right, where you have leftists that are sort of disguising themselves and infiltrating the Republican Party. I think that's happening today. And I think that could possibly be happening in our county judge race. And this is the concern everyone's having. And I don't know if, Oscar, if you're seeing the same thing or if you can talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. These people are well funded. The Democrat Party is spending millions to make sure that they control the different people who are in office. We have a candidate on our side that would be a perfect Democrat candidate, but he's running on our side. And if you look at all his background, you look at all the endorsements he's got, the people he's donated money to, they're all Democrats. And some of them are hard left Democrats, too.
Okay, so we have a Democrat, a man in the race for county judge running as a Republican that's historically been a Democrat and
Yes.
most likely is still being supporting, because a lot of people have transitioned. You know, a lot of the country is red pilling, right? That means that they were one-time Democrats, but they're genuinely moving to the right. But you're saying that's not the case here.
No, it's chess at a higher level. It's really, very intricate, very planned, and the way that they look at everything is the long game. Let's get somebody in there, and we have different options. For instance, in the race that I'm in, there's one candidate, and everybody has jumped on to endorse. When you look at the background, it's all Democrat. And then we recently discovered an issue, a federal lawsuit case that's been disposed of, but it's still out there. And here's the setup. If this candidate makes it and wins the primary, the lawsuit can be used against him. And it can be used to discredit him and every Republican up and down the ballot.
Okay, can we say who the candidate is?
It's right here in the document on page, it's here.
I have it right here.
Okay.
It is, the candidate is, apologize, I'm coming up short here.
Page number 4, number 18.
Marty Langton.
Yes.
Okay, so, Marty Langton is running as a Republican for county judge, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And does he have any affiliation with the unions today?
Yes. My understanding is that he is on the Texas Executive Committee of the Texas AFL-CIO,
Okay.
and he's a firefighter union president.
Why would a union representative be running as a Republican?
I say that if he's able to primary out all the Republicans, then the Democrat Party wins. If he loses the election, the Democrat Party wins. So basically, you hedge your bets. You put one here, you put one there, and you try to get this one to knock out everybody over there, and you win regardless. So if he actually wins the election, the Democrat Party still wins.
If he wins the election as a Republican, the Democrats still have their man in the game, is what you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. And a document like this can be used to control somebody.
Okay, before we get in the document, does he have any funding behind him yet?
Lots of funding. He's the best funded candidate out of the whole race.
He's cashed
from
up.
what I understand.
Do you know what groups are funding him?
I do not.
Okay, do you have any other suspicions about, so he is still with the AFL-CIO, and he is running as a Republican, and that's a cause for concern.
Absolutely. And there's an argument for closing the primaries, but now I understand that can be exploited as well. So it's really a hard thing to do. We really need to vet the candidates. If I had a history like this, I wouldn't even run if somebody offered it to me on a silver platter.
What, outside of the lawsuit, which we'll get into, what is his history politically speaking? Do you know much about him?
I've known him for quite a while, just as a firefighter president. I know one of the big things between the police, HPD, and the firefighters back in the day was when they were arguing about pay parity. And a lot of people say that he was instrumental in starting like a war between the police and the firefighters. So there's a lot of bad blood there. And so I was working at the time, and we actually, when we were out there on duty, we'd have to, when we saw the firefighter guys, we'd say, hey, look, we're not into that. Look, we are here to protect you guys, and you guys are here to save our lives. And we work together. So that was really traumatic back then for everybody, because we're the first responders. Why is this going on? And it's absurd. But it's the leadership. You have to have good leadership in all of these positions. And we've seen unions. I've seen unions on the police end that sometimes the presidents get in power, and some of them take money. Some of them, they go crazy with politics. I mean, we have to police ourselves and make sure that we keep those people in check. Even though they're serving us and they're servants, everybody has the potential of becoming corrupted if not kept in check. And it goes back to the fabric of the person who's running it. So it's it's a delicate task.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about the lawsuit.
Okay.
Please tell us about it.
It is a federal lawsuit. It's a civil action. It's actually it's an EEOC lawsuit. Do you know anything about how EEOC lawsuits work with the feds?
No.
Okay. Here's what happens.
EEOC, employer, what's it stand for? Do you know?
Equal Opportunity Employment Commission. Okay. So this person filed a complaint.
What an EEOC lawsuit is it's essentially it's a employee liability. It's employee related liabilities.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
Hostile work environments, et cetera. So this one here, I looked at it, and I believe it was filed on in March 29th of 2018. So it's a few years old, but it's not terribly old. And I'm not going to sit here and say that anybody's guilty because I wasn't there. But based on what's in the body of this document, this can be used against all the Republicans. It can be used against him. It can be used against the rest of us because if I have this, the Democrat Party has this.
And what is it, though? What's in it?
Oh, it's a
is it a sexual harassment
lawsuit.
Okay.
Now, the EEOC first has to do an investigation. So somebody files a complaint, and the complaint goes to EEOC, and EEOC does an investigation. Based on their findings, they either give you a letter giving you permission to file a lawsuit, or they don't. If they don't give you a letter, then your issue's dead. In this case, they gave her a letter, gave her permission to file a federal lawsuit.
Gave the victim a letter to file a federal lawsuit. So the
Yes.
EEOC did their investigation. They said this accusation's worthy enough to take it to the next level and take it to the federal level.
That's correct.
And the victim then took it to the federal level.
Yes. She had a certain amount of time. These things are timed. So within the correct time, she was able to go ahead and file the federal lawsuit.
And there's an accusation in there that he was sexually harassing her, including sending pictures of himself nude. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know about him, but it says that there's another person. And basically, it says the victim filed a sexual harassment grievance, and the grievance sustained one of 4 incidents immediately after filing the complaint of sexual harassment against Langton. Langton's friends began harassing Rudy. So he's alleged to have harassed her. And then there's more allegations saying that his co-workers or co-actors joined in with more harassment and threats. And it's all in the body of the document.
Okay.
And like I said,
But there is something
not
in there
saying-
about nudes being sent.
yes, there is also. Let's see. It says that one of the people sent genital pictures. So, and she did report this to the supervisor, and there was nothing was done about it, and there was retaliation done by others. So this is bad. Now, I don't know if it happened. I'm not going to sit here and say somebody's guilty of it.
Right.
But with it being in this document, the wording, the accusations, the allegations can be used against somebody. Because think about this for a moment.
So they essentially the concern is that the left sent a candidate up through the right wing, funded him, and gave him a lot of funding, and if he wins, then he's a representative for the left. If this document's found out, it torpedoes our chances of getting in county judge position.
Yes, absolutely. And it'll go further because let's say, for instance, he wins the primary. And then at the right moment, the challenger, the Democrat challenger, walks up there and says, look at all this that I have right here. Look at all these allegations. These are all true, and they'll be embellished because a lot of people
It's definitely going
embellish.
to come out. There's no question.
And it'll come out, and it'll paint all of the Republicans. They'll say, we're here to protect you. The Republicans were hiding this from us, but we found it. So we're here to protect you from those nasty Republicans. And they agree with this kind of activity because Trump did the same thing. And so all these Republicans agree to the same thing, and they were covering it up. but we found it, and therefore you need to vote for us because we're here to
Right.
save you from those nasty Republicans.
Yeah. I think it's a concern. And I think that I agree that we need to vet our candidates. You know?
Yes, 'cause
What are you thinking, Liz?
I think we definitely need to vet our candidates. It's not just that race. All across the board, I know now of maybe a couple that we have looked at voting records, and because I've had some suspicions on some of them, and they are soft Democrats. Their records are soft Democrats, and they're running as Republicans. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why Harris County has been kind of stuck where it is, and we haven't gotten back to being a Republican stronghold is we haven't done a very good job in vetting our candidates. And it's almost like if a Republican wins, it's almost like a Democrat won because their policies are the same as the Democrats. So I think it's important, vet your candidates, make sure that they're conservative, that they represent our values. Listen, Harris County, the majority of Harris County population right now are Hispanics. They're Latinos. We need to have candidates that represent our Latino values. We are very pro-family. We are pro-country. We are very conservative. We need candidates that represent those values. And again, another reason why when you have these entities that are electing these candidates to run for these positions, we need to let them know, hey, we need to start electing some of these Hispanic candidates.
But we need good Hispanic
absolutely,
candidates,
100%.
not the bad ones.
100%. I agree with you, Oscar. Again, vetting has to happen. And we have a lot of really good Latinos that can run for office. And I think that we need to start doing that because Latinos are probably one of the most conservative people that you're going to find.
Yes. And we need the young ones, too. We need to get the
Absolutely.
young ones involved.
100%.
And that's one of the things we're doing.
Yeah.
So
I think, talking about the young ones, I think in the last probably 8-10 years, I think the Democrats have done such an injustice to the men in our country. I think that they have basically taken away their manhood, if you want to put it that way. And I think that's one of the reasons why President Trump won this election, because the Latino men came out in droves to vote for President Trump, because they were tired of being told that you don't have to go to work, you can stay at home, you don't have to find a job. Latino men like to take care of their families. They're hardworking people. We want the men to take care of their families,
macho.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So let's get to state issues at
Yeah.
the Texas state level. We know what happened with in Minnesota, where their Somali community up there was part of the Somali community was involved in a scheme to a daycare scheme to fraudulently get money from the government. And Governor Abbott responded to that here in Texas. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Liz?
Yeah. So I think in the last few weeks, we've had a lot going on in the nation when it comes to the fraud that's been exposed. It all started with COVID, where people started getting all these loans and opening up fake entities, fake daycares, fake healthcare facilities. They even went as far in Minnesota as to go to families, ask their permission to enroll their children in centers for autistic children, even though they were not autistic, and then they were getting kickbacks from using their children's names. Do you know what that did? I work in the medical field 30 years, the last 18 of them in pediatrics. We have been so occupied with the overwhelming number of autistic cases in the country just to come to find out that I don't know how many of them are fake, because these people were just getting kickbacks to enroll their children. Do you know how awful that is?
Yeah.
It is absolutely crazy. Right now in Minnesota, the estimate, and it's the investigation's just begun. We're talking about billions of dollars, $9 billion.
I think we're in a cleansing phase of our country where this stuff is being exposed, and rather than us, a lot of things aren't in place that were in place before. Okay, we talk about the Latino community and about their love for family. Well, if you noticed, this love for abortion that's been in our country is largely going away. The country is cleansing in a good way. So now we see this Somali enterprise to fraudulently take money from the government for these fake autism and other cases. And in the past, the fleecing of America was a small nothing burger tidbit on the news and nothing more. But now you have a nation riveted in their chairs, dissecting it like you are, Liz.
Yeah.
And I feel like, in order to cure something, you need to put light on it. And I feel like the wound is getting light on it. And I feel like even the Somali, I always root for people. I think the Somali community will stand up and root out this criminal element in their own communities.
Yeah.
I think they'll stand up and do the right thing. There's good people there. But, I feel like things are going in the right direction, but I'm glad that, you're dissecting it like you are, and I'm glad that Governor Abbott's taken an issue here. It sounds like in Texas it's not quite the issue that it is in Minnesota. But
I don't think so. But Governor Abbott is taking precautions. He has ordered an investigation to start here in Texas to see if we find any kind of fraud like that. Here in Texas, we have a lot more guardrails to protect against that. There were no guardrails in Minnesota and a lot of these other places.
Well, and that's what the left wants to
Zero.
do. They want to wear down all of our defenses so that we become a walking mat for every form of corruption and fraud and every form of criminality in the state that can exist. So I do appreciate what Governor Abbott's doing. I'll read what it says here in the Texas scorecard. Abbott noted that Texas already conducts routine audits and in-person site visits of child care providers, pointing to a reported improper payment of just 0.43%, far below Minnesota's approximately 11%.
Absolutely.
According to the most recent federal data.
Yeah, absolutely. There were no guardrails at all. They didn't have any books, like the daycare centers. There were no books on what children were attending there, yet they were collecting millions of dollars a year. And they were enriching themselves. My constituents in House District 135 are struggling to pay their bills.
Yes.
Okay. Our insurance is too high. Our house notes are too high. Daycare is in order to put a baby in daycare right now. Okay, the first probably year of the life of that child, it's a mortgage payment every month. It's over $1,000 a month to put a baby in daycare. Okay, we're paying for that right now. And these people are stealing our taxpayer money. We're tired of it.
Yeah. It's a cleansing, there's so many things that could be said. Harris County is a cesspool of fraud and fleecing of the taxpayer. And it's just like we see it in every way, shape, and form.
Absolutely. It's happening in Harris County too. What happened with Lina Hidalgo? When they got all the COVID funding,
$11 million.
They started opening up all these social programs.
NGOs.
And NGOs, knowing that funding was going to go away. That was just during COVID, right? They opened up all these social programs. When the COVID money ran out, she wanted to continue. the funding to these social programs, which, by the way, that is not the job of the commissioner's court or her to open up social programs in Harris County. That's not their job. Way out of her lane. And anyway, so money runs out. She wants to continue these social programs. She even has her own Democrat commissioners go against her because there's no money. There is no money there. That's why she's not running again, okay? Because even her own people turned on her. Absolute, one of the most horrible Harris County judges we've ever had.
The most.
Yeah, incompetent.
Well, I won't say incompetent. I'll say criminal.
Yeah.
I don't think you make these kind of mistakes, by just simply making they're mistakes. No, they're not mistakes. They're purposeful acts.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the next humdinger of a topic. Let's talk about inflation. So inflation today is incredibly high. At the same time, we have a president who's dealing with Joe Biden, who was dead man at the wheel for 4 years while our inflation went through the roof. Mm-hmm. So Trump is now containing this, and actually, for the first time in 4 years, inflation is reducing. But it's still so high. I mean, we've had, 48 plus months of this. Yeah. What the American citizens gone through is, we're almost at the Weimar Republic level here. And I had a friend this week. He's single and he's Filipino. And I called him. He's like, "Hey, I'm in the Philippines. I called him in I don't know what time, 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's 2 a.m. here. He said, "I can't take the prices anymore." He goes, I'm staying with family in the Philippines. But that just gives you an idea of where we are.
Yeah.
Incomes haven't gone up.
Nope.
But inflation has. But we are seeing some things turn in the right direction. You want to talk about that, Liz?
Sure. You have to put everything into perspective when it comes to inflation. Okay, the Democrats always like to, the inflation, Trump hasn't done anything about it. Let me just remind them that inflation under Joe Biden's administration reached 9%. Okay? Consumer prices were up 21.5% under Biden. Gas went up 31%. Weekly earnings decreased. Okay? Home prices went up 37% under the Biden administration. We are trying to, first you have to stop the bleeding, okay? And then you can start making progress. What President Trump has done is we started lowering the gas prices. Once you start lowering the gas prices, everything else slowly starts coming down as well. Like everyone knows, right now we're seeing in some places gas under $2 a gallon. We haven't seen those prices in over 5 years. Okay?
It feels good.
It does feel good. We have lower interest rates right now. I think we've had 3 consecutive meetings with the feds that they have lowered our interest rate. So with lower interest rate will come lower price in homes, and people can start affording the homes. Under the last 5 years, let me tell you guys, the average age of someone buying a home is age 40. It used to be in the 30s.
Well, let me tell you about the groceries.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A stack of 200 paper plates over at Sam's used to be like $6 and change.
Yeah.
Now it's 18. Mm-hmm. I don't see it going down. The styrofoam's not hard to make. So it's got a massive increase. Now, when we start getting more oil, and because it's made out of oil products, you would hope it goes down, but these retailers have already seen the levels that they can go to. And it's going to be very reluctant for any of them to bring those prices down. They're going to keep it as high as they can.
We need competition in the markets across the board.
Yes, we do.
One of the things that's come through this show a lot is how they have consolidated so many of our businesses. Right now, instead of having 20 or more supermarkets to go to, we have like 4. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's easy for them to control prices when there's so few competitors in the market. I think that's another thing. We need a large diversification of business in our world.
And we need to do that with insurance companies as well. As I travel my district, one of the biggest complaints I hear every time I talk to my constituents is insurance is too high. You know, you can't even go and find someone that will help you open up a policy, a home policy right now. You better stick to the policy you have, because I don't care if you have good credit. They're not opening up new policies.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have more insurances out there so that these companies.
I mean, I see insurances like this. Everyone's paying. Our premiums are going up. It is getting record high levels. It's hurting people. People who need health care are getting dropped. We're leaving our own people on the side of the street without what they need. This is not how a society is run. Unless you are being run by the oligarchs, unless you're being run by the corporatocracy, the marriage of government and corporations. And that's what it is. It is not a free market in insurance. And essentially what happens is they are just gutting us. We continue to make these payments, and it's like an underwater monster is there. And it's like a leech. And it's just this crony government business unit, and it's just eating up all of our premium money. And it's nothing more than that. It's legalized corruption. And Trump tried to take this on in his first term, and he failed. But I think he's going to get a second whack at it. But ultimately, what has to happen is we have to completely dissect the insurance industry, tear it apart, and break it up. And that's what needs to happen.
Well, I think one of the things that they're talking about, because the ACA, the so-called Affordable Care Act, it was never affordable, by the way. Okay, you never were able to keep your doctor like they said that you were supposed to be able to keep your doctor. Okay, all the subsidies have expired. Believe me, they want to blame the Republicans. Republicans not one Republican voted for the ACA Act. Okay. They're the ones that voted it in. They're the ones that did the subsidies, and they're the ones that put an expiration on the subsidies. Okay, not the Republicans. Whoa. They did. But get this. You are paying for policies. You're paying, I'll tell you, I'm an example because we tried to get on the ACA at the very beginning when it first came out. $1,200 a month for a healthy myself and my husband. Okay, $1,200 a month. You know what? You want to know how much our deductible was? $10,000. We never used the insurance. We had it there for catastrophic reasons. You don't use it. You're paying an arm. People can't afford $1,200 of premium a month these days with the inflation and everything else. They can't afford it. So what did Trump say? You know, instead of the government paying these subsidies to these insurance companies where they keep getting richer, let's give the subsidies to our constituents, our voters.
I want to take 1 minute and talk about our featured product, which is the LifeWave X39 patch. And it is photolight therapy that stimulates your stem cells. Our stem cells, when we're born, when we're babies, we have fertile, rich stem cells, and they go dormant with each passing decade. What the medical industry does is they never talk about stem cells. They are the root. They are the root of health, vitality, youthfulness, your youthful beauty, all of those things. Your energy levels, and the medical industry never goes there. What do? They tape over it with medicines and doctor visits and everything we're talking about here. It's one more form of corruption. They never want you to get you healthy. But it is your stem cells that will make you healthy. And LifeWave with the X39 patch is the fastest growing company in the world, second year in a row, because it's cracked the code on stem cell therapy. And when I say it's cracked the code, I mean it is patented technology that has undergone significant clinical trials and proven that they stimulate stem cells. And in doing so, it turns back the age of your heart by 8 years and your other internal organs. I'm going to say that again. It turns back the age of your heart and internal organs by 8 years with the use of the LifeWave X39 patch for 6 months. What does that mean for you? That means that it manifests itself in many ways. It potentially makes you healthier, more energy, hair grow back in certain areas. It's true. It's true. There's no guarantees. It will improve your organs. There's no question. How that manifests itself on the outside comes in different forms. For example, pressure on the bladder goes away for some people. For other people, where there was no hair begins to grow back. Thickness begins to grow back in hair. Back pains go away. For me, for my issue is, again, the bladder. I had pressure on my bladder, was awful. I had energy drops that were awful. I had to take power naps. I'd get sleepy behind the wheel. I'd fall asleep at red lights. I had all these issues. They're all gone. I still have aches and pains in other parts of my body, but my body is healing. I do believe that my appearance has gone to a more youthful appearance, but maybe it's the lighting in the studio. I don't know. It is the LifeWave X39 patch. It is truly amazing, life-changing, revolutionary, and to learn more about it, type the word Patriot to 3306-062304, and there's an incredible opportunity, a business opportunity for those with enterprising minds. And with that being said, I want to get back on this topic. I want to say one more thing. RFK Jr. uses the X39 LifeWave patch, and I believe that man is here for all the right reasons. Getting back to it, yes, just like our food industry has been here to corrupt and kill us, just like our pharmaceutical industries are here to keep us sick, vaccines create injuries. Can anyone trust the insurance industry today?
No. And then I think that the most corrupt thing for me is that here we have Americans that cannot afford health care, and we allowed over 20 million illegal people to come into our country, giving them free health care because they did have free health care. I can tell you that in the month of November of 2024, the hospitals in Texas spent over $121 million in taking care of illegals in the hospitals in Texas. That's just 1 month, the month of November of 2024. Okay? The hospitals in South Texas were overwhelmed with illegal immigrants in those hospitals that the people. Why do you think South Texas turned red? Starr County had been blue for over 100 years. Okay?
Because the illegals were overwhelming their schools and their hospitals.
Their schools, their hospitals, the crime started going up, and they said, no way.
Well, we talked about it on the show. The cartels were getting so bold, they were going onto the U.S. side and threatening U.S. families with kidnappings. And again, I took a drive to Laredo, and my Mexican friend told me, don't you ever do that again. This was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I went to Laredo, I went to the McDonald's, and it was packed with illegals. They were showering in the sinks.
Yeah.
They were everywhere.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful. You know, I'm going to tie this into what's going on with Venezuela right now.
Okay, wait. If we can, please, let's stay on this issue of the border. First thing I want to say is this. It is a very unfortunate situation because our border guards were brought down for the purposeful act of taking us out with immigration. Taking a country out with immigration is used over and over again. Speaking of Venezuela, go look at what Carmen, our recent candidate for Congresswoman, Montiel talks about how they allowed non-Venezuelans into the northern part of Venezuela and then leveraged those people with an anti-Venezuelan sentiment to create disruption and disorder. Go look at the so-called Russian Revolution. It was not a revolution. It was a commie Bolshevik immigration. They did a call out. This is in the early 1900s. Yeah. They did a call out to communists across the world. They came to Russia with the purpose of taking out the Romanov family, a 300-year reigning family taken out, and the bloodshed of the communists, the bloodshed that happened on the Russian people ensued. So what I'm trying to say is, from all the way back to the early history of modern society to today, they use immigration against us. Now, I want to step back for 1 second, okay? Because we're all human beings, and it's very unfortunate. But there are a lot of these people that have come here. if we are going to be a doormat, they're going to use the doormat.
Absolutely.
And we were a doormat, and that's partly on us. They are here now, and they've built families and lives and everything like that, and that's very unfortunate. But I blame the Texas Democrats because it's the Texas Democrats that brought our borders down, that advocated for this situation to become to a point where now we have to make these decisions. The Texas Democrats are the communists of our day, and they did it for the purposeful act of taking our society, leveraging those people against us eventually. But I do want to make that point that, nobody likes what we're going through, but we have to retain law and order in our country.
I mean, a country cannot exist if it doesn't have borders. Never in the history of any country has it been able to exist without having strong borders. It's going on in Europe right now. I mean, London, you can't even recognize London anymore, with all the migration that they've had and open borders. Germany learned their lesson. Germany did the same thing. They started opening up their borders, and they learned their lesson. And quickly, after a few years, they started shutting it down.
Well, there's something else that's happening right now. If I went on a vacation, I met a ton of Europeans. The first thing that came out of their mouth was immigration is killing our societies.
Absolutely.
This was a taboo subject to talk about just a few years ago, and now people are talking about it, and they're making a stand, which tells you that the left is dying, that political correctness is going away, the race card is dying, which is a great sign it's an opportunity for us to take back our societies. Did you want to say something, Oscar?
No, I was going to talk about immigration. And, over the years, we've seen people that come over and get benefits like you're saying. And this is one question I've always wanted to ask. If I cross the border illegally, will I be able to get the benefits anywhere else that we offer here?
Absolutely not.
What will they do to us?
It never happened before. 20 years, 30, 40 years ago, when people came here illegally to work, and I'm just going to speak about the Mexicans that used to come from Mexico. They came here illegally. They started working. It was actually embarrassing to get food stamps or to get any government help. We wanted to come here. We wanted to work. We wanted to save money for our families. We didn't want any help. They weren't giving us help, okay? These days, they demand it. They demand health care. They demand that SNAP card to get food stamps, okay? It's just this culture that we have created. It's a monster now, and we have to reel it back. And we have to let people know it is a privilege to come to our country.
So I bring this headline here, right here. Houston leads the nation in ICE arrests. And I had a long conversation with an ICE officer. And, essentially there's 5,000 ICE officers to police 30 million illegal immigrants. The resources are limited. It is going to be raised to 15,000 within 90 days or so. Trump's going to go ahead and increase the number of ICE officers, but still a monumental task. But at the same time, I do believe the problem is beginning to rectify itself because the border is shut down, which means that the flow of illegal immigrants is cut off. And that's a big deal. The ship is no longer sinking.
Absolutely.
But in addition to that, the illegals that are here, think about their lives. If they cross anyone in any way, that person just reports them. They are in such a vulnerable state because anybody can report them and they're gone. And I couldn't imagine living under that kind of a scenario, but that's how it is.
And we also want to remind people that Republicans are a party that accepts migrants, but we want them to come here legally. I mean, we have family members, okay, that came here legally. They went through the process, which, by the way, I do believe that we need a better process to.
But I got to say something, man. We've had 60 million immigrants in less than 60 years.
Yeah.
There needs to be a moratorium.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to absorb what we have. And I know what I'm saying is hugely unpopular in Fort Bend County. But I don't know how. I mean, the country needs to get back on its leg with the population that it has. And I'm not saying a full, elimination of immigration. I'm saying limits and controls. Maybe just for immediate family members. I don't know. H-1B1 visas, those things need to go. Right?
Well, that's really hurting us because we have all these graduates that are graduating from college and they can't find a job. We have engineers here in Texas. I mean, perfect example. We have so many jobs that are coming to Texas with all this AI that's coming in, right? And we have a lot of our kids that are graduating, but we're bringing all these foreigners with these H-1B visas because we can pay them less than our kids, So why don't we put a cap on that, eliminate it for a while, get our kids to work in the workforce?
I think it needs to be permanently eliminated.
Yeah.
I think it was criminal in the beginning. I remember 2001, I was on a college campus talking to engineers, and they were being outbid by H-1B visas. And so
100%.
If this is your country, you're paying tuition to go to a college to get an engineering degree, and your government at the same time is importing your competition, that is illegal and unjust.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Well, looking at the other end of the spectrum, because I've talked to different people who are running for land offices across the state, they say that we do need the workers to come to take care of the farms, to slaughter the animals, to pick the crops. And all of them say the same thing. We have to have something in place, but nobody will get something done because my kid's not going to go pick cotton or watermelons.
I
or
was
any of
fixing
that
to say,
stuff.
Oscar, I think that's insulting when they say, well, we need the Mexicans to come and pick the crops, the
That,
crops. I'm like, really? But
if
we
they-
want
if they're willing
better
to,
jobs than
But
that.
I don't
But if they're
agree
willing
with-
to?
I don't have the answer for that. But I think there is an answer that doesn't mean that we whore out our country.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Agree 100%. I mean, we need to put our kids to work. They can't find jobs right now.
All right, Liz, you want to move to a new subject? Which one did you want to talk about?
Let's
Like you're at the restaurant and I'm looking at the menu right now.
yeah. I want to be able to talk about a little bit about affordability.
Okay.
I think that what we need to run on and is actually eliminating property taxes. And I just want to hit something on property taxes because, at a state level, through the years, every session, we keep eliminating property taxes, but we don't feel it because our local government keeps raising our taxes. All right. We need to put guardrails in there where it's not so easy for them to raise our taxes,
Yep. Okay.
Go ahead.
Fort Bend Independent School District, right? The state lowered taxes, I don't know, by let's say 10 points. Mm-hmm. And so what Fort Bend ISD did is they saw it as an opportunity. They said, oh, well, then we'll raise it by 9. Yeah. And we'll give the people a 1 point difference. There was a fight within the Fort Bend ISD between the school board members, and they agreed on the middle. They raised it by I'm going to just throw numbers out here, about maybe 4 or 5 points. So they took the 10-point margin and reduced it by half. Mm-hmm. And the citizens are there going, what did you just screwed us. Yeah. We had a 10-point margin benefit and you cut it in half and you wanted to take the whole thing. The lefties on the school board and the supposed right ones, no, they're all lefties. They did this to the people of Fort Bend ISD. They did it and they said, oh, because we're going to give teachers a raise. And what happened is the teachers got a raise. It was a puny raise, and the teachers' taxes were higher than the raise. So it was completely, they hurt Fort Bend permanently. I mean,
our local governments are our worst enemy. The state tries to help us, lowering taxes and everything, and they're talking about raising taxes right now in Harris County.
They were talking about putting some safeguards at the state level.
Yeah.
When we were at the governor's announcement,
right, he
did come out and say that now the legislature is going to be working on that to keep them reeled in from going up.
Exactly. I think they're talking about possibly if they ever want to raise the taxes at a local level, that it would take 3/4 of a vote. You have to put it up to a vote, and it'd have to pass by 3/4 of a vote, which is, I think, it's a great idea.
And I think it wasn't going to go over 3%.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that the citizens need to stand up. What happened in Fort Bend is the county officials, the commissioner's court, passed a bond that was $1 billion bond. They typically pass. They passed approximately just less than $1 billion. They typically break that out in thirds, right? So they passed basically eight or more years of spending in one bond. But in doing so, they should have to go 2 or 3 times to get that kind of money, get approval 2 or 3 times. So they came out with a pretty aggressive PR campaign, propaganda campaign, and they got the citizens to vote on it. And with our flimsy voting machines, it passed. I do not trust the elections in Fort Bend. I do not trust the elections in Fort Bend County. I'm just going to say that right now. But they passed. So then the commissioner's court's like, well, you guys voted on it, so we're in the clear. And they moved on. But what's happened in Fort Bend County is that the people are not letting this go. And they keep pushing the issue. Look what you did to us. You sunk us in debt. And now it's a driving issue in the Fort Bend County judge race. And what I'm trying to say is that, yes, all the safeguards that the governor is passing are really good. But at the same time, in Fort Bend, the people were asleep at the wheel when the county commissioner's court did that.
Yeah.
Just like Harris County.
Yeah.
Oh, Harris County it's the record-setting catastrophe in the state of Texas.
Well, they were fighting about the raising for the police officers, right? They finally passed the raise, and they said, we're not going to raise taxes. And then what happens a couple of weeks later, the hospital district comes in, and they raise taxes.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to raise taxes for cops,
They're-
and that's okay. But then they raise it for the hospital district. So you're going to get it somewhere.
You're going to get it somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Concept of Doge needs to be replicated 100 times over.
Yes, I agree 100%.
All right, so I got one for you
Forensic
guys.
audits.
We have to send our money to the Ukraine or we would be bad people. We have to send our money to Israel or we would be bad people, right? We're the only country, and I need to give this credit to Nick Tran. He made this point. We're the only country that gets taxed to send our money to other countries. How inhumane is that? Okay, but here's my point. Right now, this news blurb blasted everywhere in a minute, and it was that the cost of revitalizing, renovating the Astrodome far exceeds the cost of tearing it down, so we got to tear it down. And this news blurb came out on all platforms in a minute, in a fast way, and I smelled the scent of propaganda. And my first suspicion is somebody wants the land that
They're
the
going to build
Astrodome's sitting
something,
on.
and then they're going to raise our taxes to pay for it.
Right. Well, but here's my point, is that I love the Astrodome.
Yeah.
And I want it
I
restored.
think a lot of people do. That's probably why it's still there because, I think they put it up to, didn't they put it up to a vote one
they
time,
did.
and they said, hey, do y'all want to get rid of it or not? And people are like, no, we don't want to get rid
But
of
what
it.
the county's going to do, here's what the county will do. They'll tear down one of our historic landmarks, but they'll fund the county commissioner's administration, $125 million to run a new administrative bureaucracy in the county commissioner's court that never existed before.
Yeah.
They'll tear down our historic landmarks, but they'll send millions of dollars to send our prisoners over to Louisiana, where our prisoners are going over there and coming back dead in body bags. So what I'm trying to say is that I want a solvent government and I want our landmarks restored. In Sugar Land right now, the city is doing a proper restoration of the sugar mill in downtown Sugar Land. And, I do not want to see that sugar mill destroyed. I want that thing preserved. I want our landmarks preserved. And I think it's time that we stop preserving the landmarks in the Ukraine and the landmarks in Israel and these other countries and start saving our money to revitalize our own city, including saving the Astrodome without taxing our people into oblivion.
I agree 100%. And talking about sending money to Ukraine, they've done audits. They don't even know where millions of those dollars went. It's unaccounted for. How can anyone be okay with keep sending money over there? I mean, you got to stop. It's like, it's insanity. If you have an audit and you cannot account for millions of dollars, what does that mean? It's fraud. People are keeping that money. They're getting rich. They're buying yachts. They're buying cars. They're buying houses. They're buying, stop. Just stop the madness. It's common sense.
We have cities from Gary, Indiana to Youngstown, Ohio to Detroit, Michigan that are burned out and bombed out.
Falling apart.
Once historic cities. Once the city of Detroit was so magnificent at one time.
Yeah.
And we let our cities die. Wow. Imagine if we didn't put that money into Ukraine, we put it into our American cities and what that would do. What are you going to say, Oscar? I'm sorry. You say something?
I was.
Yeah, you lost your thought?
Talking about Detroit,
take it back.
I will. Talking about Detroit, I blame every single city that fell in our nation goes back to Bill Clinton when he decided to bring China into into a free trade. Okay.
Well, we don't make anything here anymore.
Everything was subsidized to China. They took over everything. They stole our intellectual properties. Okay. All of our cities started closing down. Everything was starting to be transferred to China. We were buying, everything cheap. It was, and I blame him for doing it, and everyone else for going along with it. That should have been stopped a long time ago. And the scary part was when you really find out the cost of that, and we have emergencies like COVID. We couldn't get supplies in here. Can you imagine if we ever had an emergency and our medication is coming from China? If they decide, no, we're not gonna send you any medicine anymore. We're not gonna send you any supplies anymore. It's crazy.
In better times,
it is a national emergency.
In better times, the Chinese continent was completely self-producing. It was completely self-producing. And what happened is the European powers wanted to take it down for the purposes of weakening it so that they would be less of a strong trading partner for tea. So they did the opium wars. They infiltrated China with opium. But the point being is that China was a self-producing nation. We have a continent here on this side of the country called North America that can absolutely do the same thing, and I wholly support it.
And that takes us to Venezuela. And I think one of the main reasons why Trump took Maduro out is because China, Iran, Russia, they are embedded in our Western Hemisphere, and they have been basically getting rich off of us. And what did he say? No more.
Well, they're buying
This is
ports.
our hemisphere. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What did Rubio do as soon as Trump came into this administration? He went to Panama and told the Chinese, you get out of here. And they did. And so once again, this is the Western Hemisphere. The people here should be basically, inheriting our riches instead of China and Iran and Russia. The people of Venezuela deserve to have that money that their land produces to enrich themselves. They have had 8 million people leave their country in the last 25 years. It's crazy. And who's been getting rich? The Chinese, the Iranians, and the Russians. It's
and the politicians
insane.
in that country.
It's insane. It's insane.
Well, we got 1 minute. Last thoughts, last topics. Anything?
Well, I'm just going to say my name is Liz Ramos. I want you to please visit my website at lizramosfortexas.com. Donate. We have momentum going on in my district. The incumbent has decided not to run, so it is an open seat. Again, my name is Liz Ramos. Please visit my website at lizramosfortexas.com. Donate. We need your money. The Democrats, you know them. They always come with their money. But if you can donate, I would really appreciate it.
Looking forward to that race. Oscar, you're up.
And I'm Oscar Gonzales. I'm the only candidate that's got 30 years of law enforcement and going on 38 years of service to the community. That's nonstop service. And I bring a lot to the table. I have a lot to offer. a lot of experience. So I've got 30 years of on-the-job training plus at the county. And so vote for me, and because this is the underdog campaign. We're the real people's campaign. I'm not owned by anybody. I don't owe anybody any favors, and I'm not controlled. I answer to the people.
And this is the Chris Heasley Show, the only show that didn't go national. We don't go national. We stay local. And we will be covering all of these races at the local level in Harris County, in Fort Bend County, and in the state of Texas. So looking forward to it. Tune in next week. We'll be here on Tuesday. Have a great week.
This is The Chris Heasley Show, coming to you from Radio Demand, the North America's premier broadcasting network.